This is Sky Sports.
This week on NHRA Today, sportsmen chase points down south of the border, while bracket racers broil at a divisional Donnybrook, having a super time with the Bow Tie Brigade, and going on the job with a drag racing detective. From the Champion Auto Stores Nationals in Brainerd, Minnesota, these stories and more on this edition of NHRA Today. The state of Minnesota is nicknamed the land of 10,000 lakes, and quite naturally, fishing is one of the region's prime sporting activities. But for 1 week during the year, the connecting rod displaces the fishing rod in the hearts of Minnesotans. The cause for this shift of allegiance is the Champion Auto Stores Nationals, 4 festive days featuring the quickest show on earth. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of NHRA Today. I'm Steve Evans. In the next half hour, we are going to take you on a whirlwind tour of the sport of drag racing. Plus, we'll bring you a preview of the racing here in Brainerd, Minnesota this weekend, the crucial last stop before we go to Indy for the U.S. Nationals. It's a jam-packed 30 minutes, so let's get cooking by finding out what it is that's hot. Qualifying here at Brainerd is always sizzling, but especially in 2 of the professional classes, because this is the last chance before the U.S. Nationals for funny car pilots to claim a place in the Big Bud Shootout and pro bike competitors to join the Elite 8 in the Wax Shop Pro Bike Dash. Points for both special events are earned by qualifying positions. In funny car, Whit Bazemore is riding the bump spot, not far behind Gordon Mineo, with Kenji Okazaki in close pursuit.
We can't let Kenji Okazaki qualify 30 points ahead of us, which is 6 positions. And, the pressure's on him, but the pressure is on us as well.
The situation is similar in pro bike, where Lance Boyer is on the bump spot, with John Mafaro in pursuit, along with dark horse Paul Gass.
I think if I qualify in the top 4 and Lance has a little bit of trouble, maybe in 15th or 16th, I might be able to squeeze in.
And that's what's hot. Well, as you might imagine, it's going to take some clutch performances for those racers to qualify for those events. Clutch performance, of course, is important in all levels of drag racing. And in this week's Fast Back, Frank Hawley shows us an interesting piece of machinery that helps keep the clutch disc in top form.
Clutch adjustments in any type of drag racing car are one of the most critical elements in the tune-up. But if your clutch surfaces aren't flat, it's going to be very hard to be predictable with the clutch setup. That's why you're seeing more and more of these machines showing up in the pit area. This unit's designed to make sure those clutch surfaces stay flat. The belt sander on top will surface both the floater and the pressure plate to make sure that they stay flat. Then this unit down here holds the clutch disc itself. You lock it into place, flip the switch, and this cutter cuts the surface of the disc. Then you take it off, flip the disc around, and do the other side. With smooth mating surfaces, the racers are going to much better be able to predict the performances of their clutch. It's like having a mini machine shop in the pits.
One of the pro stock pits, everyone is trying to find a clutch combination as effective as that used by the Rare and Morrison gang. Their driver, Bruce Allen, has 3 wins and 3 runners-up here in 8 years at Brainerd. They're hot.
Good race for us, Brainerd, in 1987. We had a new car there, and it was a first race for a Beretta, and we won that race, and that got us going. In 1989, I ran Bob Glidden in the final. That's always a good race. I think we beat him by 1,000th of a second. You don't know who wins when it's that close until the camera crew comes to your car, and you hope they're coming to get a good interview. In 1990, the driver had a good race. In hindsight, you could figure out why things work like they do, but I drove exceptionally well there and had a bunch of good lights, and our car ran good, but we needed a little advantage on the starting line, and we were lucky to get that, and that's my memorable races.
You know, just every once in a while when I wander through the sportsman pits, I wish I had $1 for every small block and big block Chevrolet I see. They are everywhere, from super gas and stock all the way up through competition eliminator. Why, I'd be so rich, I'd be racing a car instead of just talking about them. But you know, there's another event where I could hit the jackpot for even more. There's one thing for sure about a Super Chevy show. You won't find any Pentastars or blue ovals here. This is strictly a bow tie affair.
Super Chevy shows were started 12 years ago, more or less as a means to bring together people dedicated to Chevrolet enthusiast automobiles. Well, Chevrolet is the most popular automobile for both restorations and modifications that's on the planet. Probably 70% of all the automobiles being restored or modified today are Chevrolets. It simply made sense from an economic standpoint, from a popularity standpoint, and from the fact that Super Chevy magazine was behind it.
The 20 event tour throughout America combines all aspects of a huge car show and an NHRA national event. There's a flea market and swap meet, a classic car auction, manufacturer's midway, and of course, drag racing. Indianapolis Raceway Park was the scene of this event that attracted racers with cars from all kinds of backgrounds. Bracket racer Ronnie Ross saved his classic 61 from the Crusher.
Found it in the junkyard in 1984, and the car was pretty much a junk car. Brought it home, started on it, and just started fixing it up. I don't know, that's what I ended up with, what I got there now.
Nick Giannazzo has been showing this 70 SS Chevelle in the last few Super Chevy shows at Indy, but now he's decided to race it.
I got tired of waxing and cleaning and decided to start to race. We've changed the motor, transmission, rear end, and having fun.
Super Chevy shows consist of a wide variety of cars in the show area and on the track. In addition to the bracket cars, there's wheel standers, pro mods, exhibition cars, and jets. One jet that was a big hit for the Chevy faithful was this twin jet-powered 57 Chevy pickup, known as the Super Shockwave. This beautiful pickup has 3 times the power-to-weight ratio of an F-14 fighter.
The only thing I can really compare it to, it's kind of like getting shot out of a cannon. When we accelerate, it's about a 3G acceleration. When we come to a stop, it's about 4 Gs on the stopping side when the parachute hits. We have 2 16-foot parachutes, so they hit pretty hard.
The Super Chevy Show has a great mixture of activities for both the race fan and the show car enthusiast. But remember, if you go, don't forget your bow tie. Boy, it's obvious those Chevy lovers are totally dedicated to their brand. And many of those same racers also compete in the Firestone TNN Championships. Now, last weekend out in Division 5, they kicked off the 93 tournament finals, and Bob Fry has this report.
Heartland Park, Topeka celebrated its 5th anniversary by playing host to the Firestone TNN ET Racing Tournament Finals for the eastern half of Division 5. Now, in the 9 years of the tournament, only a few Super Pro racers have ever repeated, surviving the 8 to 10 rounds of top competition by not red lighting at the start, breaking out at the finish, or just breaking down in the blistering Kansas heat were just some of the obstacles facing defending Super Pro champion Steve Harvey. Now, Steve has used his gold card a lot this year. He's qualified for the ET tournament in 2 divisions, but in order to defend his title in Division 5, he had to do a lot of driving, and not all of it was at the track.
My local track changed sanctioning bodies, and we traveled 4.5 hours to go to Rock Falls Raceway to try to build up enough points to come to this race.
Drag racing has a way of humbling its best, and sometimes very quickly. In the first round, the defending champ was put on the trailer by Gary Stinnett. But Steve will get another shot at this race next month in Division 3. So he uses the Scarlett O'Hara approach to racing here.
Tomorrow's another day.
In Saturday's Race of Champions, Robert Randall was a last-minute replacement. He beat all the other track champions and won a trophy, a check, and a nice cold bucket of water. But on Sunday, Robert, too, was sent on one of drag racing's emotional roller coasters, as the reigning Race of Champions winner was knocked off in the first round by Wayne Green.
Yesterday was a good day. Got a trophy I didn't expect, some money. Today is kind of disappointing when I was first round, but that's part of racing.
This race belonged to a first-time entrant, 19-year-old Jason Carpenter. He matched up against one of the best Super Comp racers anywhere, Matt Driscoll, in the near lane. Matt tried valiantly to pick Jason off, but it was all in vain.
I ended up having a little better light than he did, but
It was a good race. I mean, it's kind of hard to race those fast cars like that.
Out of all the Firestone TNN champions crowned, there was one repeat winner. Donnie Dorenberger won Pro Bike just like he did in 1991. Junior Dragster will be included this season in the ET Tourney, and Lindsey Stahlbaumer became the first winner by beating a red-lighting Derek Walters. Now here are the rest of the winners from Division 5. For NHRA Today, I'm Bob Fry.
Last weekend at Raceway Park in Englishtown, New Jersey, junior dragsters took to the track where these half-scale hopefuls got their start. The Junior Nationals event attracted 72 cars from all over the United States and Canada, including the car that started it all, built by Vince Knapp back in 1989 for his then 12-year-old son, David.
The car in those days ran 19 seconds at 63 miles an hour. That was a quarter-mile run. We never ran the 8 mile.
Because it no longer meets competition standards, the car ran in an exhibition event just before elimination.
We love to watch Bob Fry on NHRA Today.
Welcome back to Brainerd. When you come to the Champion Auto Stores Nationals, it's not at all unusual to find competitors from Canada. After all, it's not that far away. And drag racing truly has become an international sport. Now, in the past, we have shown you action from south of our border in Mexico, but last weekend, for the first time, valuable Winston points were up for grabs, and Bob Fry was on hand.
A few weeks ago, while covering a Winston Drag Racing Series event in Portland, I fell asleep and dreamed I was on vacation. Well, this week's assignment turned out to be just that, a vacation in the lovely Mexican city of Monterrey. I'd see some sights, soak up some sun, and, believe it or not, become even more cultured than I already am. Oh, and maybe, just maybe, see what Division 4 is up to south of the border, if I can work it into my busy schedule. But first things first, as they say, when in Rome. So I figured I'd do my best to blend in.
How they look? Wonderful. Let's go on the tour.
Now, having the proper headgear, it was time to see the city. Observe the culture, the street merchants, the historic architecture, and the smiling people of the city of 4 million, located about 150 miles south of Laredo, Texas. I wonder if Willie, Dolly, and Garth traveled as well. Now, being a man of many hats, I don't mind upgrading to something a bit bigger and better.
Now that's a hat. No, that's a sombrero.
I'm learning. But bigger isn't always better, especially when it's bigger than, say, the bus. And sometimes, even the bus is too big for the streets. I was joined on my tour by family members of some of the Division 4 drivers and crews. And while the teams were out preparing for the drag race, their wives were already spending the prize money. Gee, I wonder if things are going okay back at the office.
Now, I don't want you to think it was just sightseeing and shopping that went on this weekend. There was some very serious racing at the Autodromo Monterey. For example, in Comp Eliminator, a lot of the best racers in Monterey were ganging up to see if they can stop David Nickens. David's as close to a cult hero as you get in drag racing in Monterey. And the other story in Stock Eliminator. Believe it or not, this quiet setting just outside Monterey might have implications into who wins the Winston Championship in Stock Eliminator this year.
We love all the attention we get from the other racers and the spectators down here. They just treat us like we're kings.
Competition Eliminator brings out the best in the Mexican drivers. It's the class they all want to win. And they all want to beat David Nickens.
Bueno, yo lo respeto mucho a él. He's a real good racer. He has a lot of experience, and he's a real tough competitor.
Nickens is going very, very fast. He's the fastest now. And I really feel that the prize should stay here in Monterrey, not because I have anything against the American racers, but since it's the first time, I do want the prize to stay here.
The luck of the draw put David Nickens against Arturo Delgado in round number 1. The Castrol GTX Olds was just too hot to handle, and for now, it looked like the title was headed north. In the semifinals, Nickens would face Monterrey's Alfonso Coelho, and at the green, David surprisingly fouled out, giving Coelho the win, and setting up a final round meeting with reigning Mexican champion Victor De La Garza.
I feel very happy to have won over Nickens, but I would love to beat Victor De La Garza.
The crowd went wild as the two top Mexican drivers came to the line. And this one was over quickly as De La Garza fouled and Coelho's B1 Dodge got the win. Now here are the rest of the winners from Monterey.
So whether you're planning a vacation or trying to go racing, come on down to Monterey. There's a little something for everyone. For NHRA Today, I'm Bob Fry.
Who's hot in the world of drag racing? During our stay in Monterey, we met a drag bike racer with 100 very special fans. Jorge Mendoza and the Mexican government got together to sponsor 10 to 15-year-old kids to help them stay away from drugs. The kids got to see the race free, and Jorge got a lot of satisfaction.
What is another reason why should I be racing, where I should make things better, and it's working real great, and I'm just trying to be like a tool to make a better community for the new kids to come along.
2 of the youngsters got to help Jorge stay straight by working on his bike in the pit. He didn't win the race this day, but in the eyes of these happy young fans, Jorge Mendoza will always be a champion. Last night in my hotel room, I was watching a rerun of Magnum P.I., and as Tom Selleck did a Hawaiian burnout on that red Ferrari Higgins was always afraid he'd wreck, I thought, I know a private eye that's got a car that would blow that thing right into the surf. Here's Dave McClellan to explain.
When funny car driver Gary Litton goes down the track, he hopes that everybody sees his Ford Probe, known as the Tennessee Shaker. But as owner of one of the largest private investigating companies in Tennessee, Gary hopes that nobody sees him at work.
A good investigator, usually don't get caught, and we have enough sense to know that if we are jeopardizing the case, we're better off to quit and go back another time. You can't go out here like they did 15 years ago and jump on telephone lines and sneak up and hide in somebody's closet in their house, or kick the door down in the motel and shoot pictures like you see in the movies. It don't work that way.
The same concentration needed at the starting line, Gary uses on the job.
It's not like TV. People get on TV, they see these people on TV doing all these things. It's nothing like that. A lot of it's boring. A lot of times you'll sit for 5, 6, 8, 10 hours waiting for someone to walk out, maybe a 30-second walkout or 10-second walkout. And if you miss it, you can't watch TV in your car. You can't sit there and read. You can't listen to the radio. You got to sit there and totally concentrate on what you're doing. I work a deal. If it's a red car, I don't send them the red cars. If it's a green car, I don't send them the green cars. I program myself.
Only about 15% of Gary's cases ever make it to court, mostly due to the strong evidence he compiles.
I do psychological evaluation, plus I do internal problems with some of the largest companies in this area, and we do phone sweeps. I do counterintelligence type work. I have all the equipment that it takes to do this job and do it properly. We have Dark Invader, which is state-of-the-art. We've got this, as a matter of fact, I have 2 different night vision outfits complete, and you can go in with just very low light. I mean, absolutely almost no light at all, and put on your video camera, which is a special video camera that we have, and go in and shoot a scene. And of course, it looks green looking through the viewfinder. It looks real green, and it shows up green, but you can identify people. You can see them actually counting money off. If they're for counting money, it's that good a quality.
Litton started drag racing in the early 50s and has been racing funny cars since 1970. Over the years, Gary has raced several cars, mostly match racing, and hitting some national events along the way. As his business got bigger, Gary found less time to race, but when he does get to the track, it's a family outing just like the old days.
If we hadn't had this race car, I think my family would have been, part of them would have been at the lake, part of them would have been horseback riding, part of them would have been somewhere else. But since we do have this car, and they all participate, even my daughters have gotten married, and their husbands even participate. And it just gives us a chance to get together. So it's a vacation. Every couple of weekends, we go on vacation. It's an expensive vacation, but it's a vacation.
Gary may not have any national wins or records, but he's probably the fastest private eye in America. Eat your heart out, Tom Selleck.
Well, I told you we were going to stuff a lot into this half-hour time sack of ours, but it's overflowing. We got to get out of here.
NHRA Today is a presentation of Diamond P Sports.